Well, good afternoon. It is Wednesday. It's time for a webinar. Our regional brown bag webinar series continues. And I think we've got a great program today. We've got some really good ways to cut your energy bill, both residential and business, and some good speakers. So we're getting ready to go. So the regional webinar series is sponsored by the UC Merced Regional Network, which is part of the national webinar series, part of the national SBDC program, and is in all 50 states. The SBA funds the program, funds us regionally, and also each of our 5 local centers. And we have 5 centers within the 15-county Central California region. The Alliance Small Business Development Center in Modesto, CSUF, SBDC in the Fresno area, down here in Bakersfield, where we are live today from downtown Bakersfield in the Mid-State Development Building. We're hosted by CSU Bakersfield SBDC. In the San Luis Obispo region, it's Cal Poly SBDC, and in Monterey, it's CSUMB Monterey Bay SBDC. So welcome to all those that are out in those areas. Good to have you on board today. So a few things before we get going with the webinar. Please use your dashboard, which is located on the right side of your screen. You'll notice you have a right arrow on a number of items there, including the question, and you can click on that and open that up and ask a question at any time. Toward the end of the webinar, we'll spend a little bit of time and we'll get to that, answering those questions. It's good to note that all of our attendees today are muted. So if you do want to communicate, please use the question or your chat box, and we'll be monitoring that during the webinar today. Sometimes we use polls to gauge the audience. We didn't think they were as necessary today. And at the end of the webinar will be a survey. So please complete the survey. The survey is important, and if you want some handouts from today's presentations, that is a good way for us to get that to you. So you might be asking, what do we do at the SBDC? Well, we provide high quality, no cost, confidential one-on-one consulting to a number of existing and startup businesses throughout that Central California region. We do training for small business owners on a variety of different mediums. We, down here in Bakersfield, use the webinar series frequently. You might also see some seminars or conferences or classes throughout your regions. And we also work on a number of special projects. Now, we are funded, as I mentioned, by the U.S. Small Business Administration, and Maria Contreras-Sweet, who is the administrator of the U.S. Small Business Administration, or the SBA, mentioned that it is the consulting, the counseling that matters the most. And I like to throw this slide out here, not because one of our panelists today is an SBA lender, but because I heard her say it herself, and SBA, you must know, last year did about $8.7 billion in loans. But it really shows what the agency thinks about the consulting and things that we have going on. So let me introduce our first panelist today. And our first panelist is going to be Megan Porter. And Megan is a Senior Strategic Manager for Pacific Gas and Electric, also known as PG&E. Megan covers the basics of the PG&E energy efficiency programs, their entry points for both business and residential customers, and offers local information that PG&E offers. The Energy Efficiency Kit offers a variety of materials for small business owners to provide the right PG&E solution to help their small businesses. Megan, welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Great, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. As Kelly noted, I'm from PG&E and have been in the marketing group that supports small and medium-sized business offerings for the last 8 years. So I have a good background in our different tools and programs, and I'm excited to get to share some of those with you today. Some easy items to take advantage of now, and then some food for thought for future projects, and I'll go into some different details from there. So to start, I'm just getting all right, there we go. We're going to talk about three main things today. A light overview of the PG&E online account, and if you don't have one, how to sign up for it, and if you do, how to leverage it a bit more potentially. The second is an online business energy checkup tool, and that's an opportunity to do a custom energy plan for your business. And the third, which I think is most exciting, are the energy efficiency opportunities that are available to you, and also some 0% on-bill financing that could help you make that a reality if capital is a bit tight. So let's dive right in. But before, one of the most common questions I'm asked is, why does PG&E care about folks using less energy? And it's a really good question. Like, don't you make more money when we use more energy? And the answer is no. So all of the investor-owned utilities in California, so that's Edison and the San Diego ones as well, are decoupled. So their revenues are decoupled from their rates. And so there's some really great lines in the sand around how the company works. And I probably would butcher it if I told you much more than that. But from an incentivized perspective, PG&E does have special energy saving goals. They're usually set up in a 3-year portfolio period, as they call it, and we're provided a bucket of money to use as incentives to help people do programs and make energy efficiency more cost effective. So that's sort of where our skin is in the game, that we really want to, not only because it's important to get people to use less energy for many reasons, but that's also a reason why we're super interested. So let's dig in. Okay, so PG&E online account. There's been an online account available for a very long time, but they do add things to it every so often. There's some different new features that have come out. So if you are brand new to the online account, this is important for you. And even if you've had one, maybe you haven't seen some of these options. So of course there are bill pay options. You can click a button and become paperless. So you no longer get that statement every month in your mail, clogging up your recycling bin. And of course, there's automatic pay and some different features from that side of the fence. There is another option too. Like if you feel like your energy bill spikes in certain times of the year, let's say you're running your air conditioning a lot in the summer, and you would rather have your bill be spread out across those 12 months and be the same payment, give or take, of course, you know how energy use changes, but have a little bit more line of sight into what's coming. There's a program called Balanced Payment Plan, and it could help you do that. A bill forecast is a new tool. So that's I'm using summer because I'm just thinking about all the air conditioning. In the summertime, if you feel like you're running your air conditioning extra, you have your store open longer, you can look and see where you stand for your next month's bill to get a better sense of, like, you know, how much it might be, and so you can plan. Of course, you can monitor your energy use, and that's from a kilowatt hour, and kilowatt standpoint, which is so energy techy, all the way to how does weather impact your bill and the cost implications for when there's weather spikes. And it's kind of fun to look into that. Rate comparisons. So you could go into this area, and they utilize your energy use as the history to fuel the comparison. So you're really looking at, what would this mean for my business to go from this rate to that rate? And could some small changes help you save, you know, a couple of $100 a year, or however it nets out for you there. Of course, there are energy saving tips and things like that. And it's a bit easier to do start, stop, and transfer service as well. And if you're thinking about solar, and a lot of these, I should note, although I'm not, as Kelly noted, I'm unfortunately not a residential expert. I do know some things about residential. I do know that these are features on the online account that are also available on the residential side. So if you're potentially considering solar for both residential or business or an electric vehicle, you'll really want to have an online account so that you can get all this data out to those vendors to make the most informed decisions. One quick example I wanted to share, I was on a customer visit to a Montessori school back around a year ago, and the customer was seeing spikes in her bill, and her bill was much larger than usual, and she had concerns that maybe her meter was broken or that something was wrong. And so I went out with a customer rep and to meet her, and she didn't have an online account at the time. So while the rep was looking around at the different equipment used at the building just to see if anything's kind of like an energy hog or a big user that maybe she wasn't aware of, I helped her in a matter of moments set up this online account. And we're going to go through that in a minute. But what it allowed her to do was she was able to see in a 15 or 20 minute interval all her energy use. And we found that in the evenings that her cleaning gentleman came, she was spiking. And she said, oh, I've used him for years and this is still strange. But what that provided her was fodder to address this with that that gentleman she works with, and to dig a little deeper. And I think that it's something great for a business owner to be able to have a little bit more line of sight into what is going on at their business when they're not there. All right, so if you're interested in signing up for an account, it's pretty easy. You go to pg.com/myaccount. If you go to anywhere on pg.com in general, you could easily get to this, to a place where you could sign up. So don't feel like you have to memorize that. You'll need two pieces of information with you. You'll want your account number, PG&E account number, and the phone number you previously used to set up the account. Now, if you're not sure, maybe somebody else set it up, call the business customer center line, and they'll be able to help you figure that phone number out, or maybe even change it so that you can do these verification steps. Then from there, you're just filling out the form, your name, email address, you're setting up your username and password, and it's pretty easy from that point on. You can select go paperless if you want at the time, and it's very fluid. So like when I set this up for that gal I mentioned, we were able to go right into her historical usage. So as long as you've been in business for a period of a couple months, you will have usage to look at. Okay, so that is the online account. The next part is this business energy checkup. So this checkup is really a neat opportunity to dig deeper into what are your opportunities at your business. So it'll be a customized plan according to your inputs. You can evaluate opportunities inside and outside of your business from an energy perspective. So they'll be bringing up opportunities to you that fit the criteria that you've set. You'll get to see kind of some general estimated cost savings for if you were to do one of the recommendations. There's some different tips too, so there's no cost things in there too that you don't have to have a big project to take some action. And then you can track your progress over time. So I'll do a quick run through on how you would leverage this. So of course, you'd want your online account already set up, and you would log in. And this is the dashboard that you would see upon logging in. A couple key things to note: you'll want to pay attention to the account number that it's showing up at this top part there that I have in the gold bar. You want to make sure that you're putting in the inputs that are for the right account. And then towards the middle top is the area to click to get to that energy checkup. This person's very lucky they have a zero balance. It must be a fake account. All right, so then this next page verifies the account that you want to do the checkup on. So if you had multiple accounts and linked to your online account, which you can do, you'll just want to pick the right one. So if you're focusing on retail, pick the retail business, and then it'll pop you right into the program. And the program is broken up into three main parts: site profile, your plan, and usage. And this first section is basic questions. So you'll see here on the screen what type of facility do you have. So those like retail, hospitality, ag, etc. Square footage. When was your site built? And some other carry-on questions that we'll see in the next screen. If you want to dig even deeper, and I think I recommend you do. I've done some samples, and The advanced questions are not that, they're not that advanced. They're not that hard to fill out. But let's say you're a retail business, it'll ask questions like, how many cash registers do you have running? How many computers do you have going? And even more questions like that, or around when was the last time you maybe had a retrofit, or how old is your lighting, and things like that will help inform the plan. And the more complete your profile is, the better your recommendations will be. So this is just the bottom part of that first screen we just talked about. So you're still in site profile. You can select when you're open, when you're closed, and some more questions. And two things I want to note at the bottom here. You'll definitely want to save your answers, and you can come back to this at other times, so that you can refresh it, you can shift, you can try, you can test different elements. Like if you're renting right now and you have it down as you rent, but you want to see what would be my options if I owned, you could go in and switch that, so you could see what how your plan would vary. And lastly, on this page, when you're done with the whole thing, and we'll keep going, you'll come back to this site profile page at the bottom, and you will click Download Report. Just keep that in mind. It's at the bottom there. All right, so this is a plan that I created with just some sample scenario. I did a retail business that was closed on Sundays. They were open from around 7, or not open, but they had at least employees working from around 7:30 a.m. till around 9 or so at night. And I put down that it was a rent/lease scenario. So the recommendations are very different. If you own, there'll be deeper options, from like switching out fixtures and equipment, and a little bit more involved, because how long you'll be at that you own it. You'll be there long term. So you'll see these are just some quick examples of the types of things in the plan. You can select if you're interested in it. No thanks, already done, or I'll do this. And the I'll do this items end up in your final plan, which I have a quick snapshot of. And I'll go quickly back to this other screen. There is a usage tab. I'm not going to go into it on this call, but it provides some different information around your energy usage and different ways to look at it, and charts. It mirrors quite a bit of what you would find in your online account as well. So it's almost redundant, but I'm sure it has some extra information. And this is that downloaded plan. So I went back to that site profile tab, went to the bottom and said download, and selected that I wanted it in a PDF, and this is what I got. So it's a nice resource to have, and to kind of see where you stand and what your options are. And you don't have to export it. You could just reference it on your computer, revisit it, or however. But we wanted to make sure you were aware of it, because it's something kind of easy and free you can do to take more control. Okay, so the part I find most exciting, energy efficiency programs. There are so many of them, and so this ties back to how PG&E has these incentive and rebate dollars, and these are the programs that help get customers access to those funds to help do those different upgrades and retrofit projects. So you might be thinking, like, okay, what are my options here? Like, what does my business really have to take advantage of these programs? And I would say largely that you do. And I would say that to someone who was renting and who was also owning, that there are options. So I wanted to call out some specific things from this page, that food service. So if you use any food service equipment, we have tons of food service rebates for fryers and steamers and ovens and holding cabinets and all sorts of things. So there's a lot to explore there. We have a bunch of different HVAC options. So we've got things that you can add on to your existing HVAC system to increase its efficiency, and there are also some quality maintenance type programs available. Lighting, tons of lighting, and this year we really have a wonderful bundle of LED rebate offers. So we have much more of the cutting edge technologies that are coming out. We're now offering rebates on those LED products, which is really exciting. And then refrigeration too. So if you have a liquor store, or you have a grocery store, we've got all sorts of rebates that would be from like an anti-sweat heaters and auto door closers, all the way to LED refrigeration lighting, so that they are linked to like a light up, a control system, so that when the aisle's empty, they power down, and when folks walk by, they power up. So, and this is just a tip of the iceberg as far as programs and options. I wanted to call out a few things in particular. So there are programs that are geography-based. They're called Energy Watch programs, and they're in partnership with PG&E, but they're based right kind of in your county. And so there's Kern County ones, there's Fresno County, and there's quite a few others. And these programs they offer those rebate and incentive type things on lighting and refrigeration and HVAC, and can help you connect to food service rebates. And they utilize local contractors to help you get that work done. So it's all kind of managed through this Energy Watch program, and they help you figure out what your opportunity is. So they would help you go into your business and find those options, and then they draft up a plan that you would then execute on with them. So that's wonderful. There are also other programs that are based off of your business type. So there's ones for hotels and grocery and even a furniture store special program, and the list goes on. So there's some unique ones from that standpoint. And they range from for the smaller guy to the large customer too. And I could go further here, but I don't want to bore you or make your eyes glaze over. But just wanted to highlight that there really are a lot of opportunities. So if I alluded to it earlier, this idea of a 0% loan to help you pay for these projects. At around 2010 or so, the utilities in California started this program called on-bill financing. And the idea is to offer customers a 0% loan from between $5,000 to $100,000, and to figure out a way to get this paid off through your bill. And so, so they've created this program that it has these different kind of parameters, but it's all meant. The idea is to maintain a neutral bill as you're paying off your project. So let me add some more insights here. So there are some parameters. So like the $5,000 to $100,000, and needs to be paid off within 5 years. So that would make that 5-year timeline is set so that you're really choosing very efficient items that you're switching for the inefficient, so that it's got good payback, which is really better for you in the long run. And as far as eligibility, you need to be a commercial customer for a continuous 24 months and have strong payment history for the last 12 months. And that there isn't a credit check. The strong payment history is our version of the credit check here. And there is an exception report that the PG&E folks can help fill out if you have, like, if there was just a really bad month, that's something that you want some grace on. There are some options there too. And the last thing is these loans are connected to these rebate programs. So whatever you're switching out in your building would have to be eligible for a rebate, which is not a bad thing because that's money off too. So let's go quickly through this scenario because it might be a little confusing. Let's say you're doing a lighting project and it's going to cost $10,000, but you're getting $2,500 in rebates. So that comes right off the top. That's not even part of the loan conversation. So now you're looking at a loan amount of $7,500. And what's done at that point is the new equipment that you're adding and all that, there are energy savings calculations associated with those, let's say, new LED lights. And they'll be able to tell, those engineer folks and project folks will be able to determine how much energy savings you'll receive for that. And in this case, it's energy savings that in the amount that it would take 25 months to pay that $7,500 off with $300 a month. And so the idea is you're saving $300 a month in energy, and so we're filling up that gap in your bill with your loan payment. So if all things remain, constant and neutral, which It doesn't always, let's just be honest. But life shifts and energy use changes, or you might bring on new employees and work longer, whatever. But if everything maintained its constant state from the time you set up your loan, you would remain bill neutral through those 25 months. And then on your 26th month, that $300 would come off, and you would hopefully have that energy, that $300 saved right into your pocket now. So you'd have new lighting and a lower bill after 5 months. So I hope that's not too confusing. I've said a lot of words here about it. I thought maybe I'd go over a couple quick samples to help you visualize a little bit more. Pablos Pizza is in Fresno. I had the chance to go there last month, which was fun, and they utilized the loan program to do some LED light switching in their business. And their loan was just about $5,600. They received almost $1,100 in rebates, and their payback period was those 2 years. And they're excited because it's a quick payback, and then they're going to have that energy, that savings, that bill savings at the end when the loan's paid off. And they're already looking forward to getting some new kitchen equipment with that savings. So they kind of have that plan in place. A bigger example, but one that's kind of fun to look at, is this market up in the Bay Area, who they took the full $100,000 loan, and they also received over $22,000 in rebates. And they did their HVAC compressor and their condenser, and then a bunch of different display case retrofit type things for their refrigeration. And their payback was just under 5 years, but they're in a business that's, they own their building and they've been there for years. They know that they have 5 years, coming up. So might as well get the new equipment and start saving. So that's a great example there. And I did get a couple questions when I presented on this last month, like what happens if my business, what if I go out of business and I have this loan still in place? And in most cases, you do need to pay back that loan to PG&E with your final bill with PG&E. So that is an important piece to keep in mind, that if something shifts, that's where the repayment comes back to PG&E. There are some situations where you're able to sign that on to the next occupant or owner if you're selling. So there are some options, but I just wanted to be very frank that it is still a loan. It's not free money, but it's a great opportunity if it's been harder to get capital and you've had great PG&E history. Okay, so this is I'm almost done. You might wonder, am I a good match for one of these programs? And I developed these quick, 6 questions for you to kind of internally ask yourself to determine if you might be. So the first is, do you have equipment, and I'm saying lighting, refrigeration, HVAC, etc., that's inefficient, outdated, or in need of replacement? If so, yes, then you should move forward on to question 2, because you're a great candidate. If you don't, just stop here. Keep it in mind for future, but you might not be the best candidate. Are you willing to invest in upgrades for your business with a good return on investment, let's say 5 years or less? This is important because you do have to have a little money to be able to do some of this. And even with on-bill financing, there is that issue of if you don't have a relationship with a contractor who will kind of carry that upfront cost for you before you get the loan paid out when you've had your installation done, there may be that upfront cost and need to invest. So it's not free money. There's still, or there needs to be some investment of capabilities. Okay, and then are you interested in the financing? Of course, and that really is something you should definitely look into. It does take a little time, so keep that in mind. You're working, which is not the quickest in the industry, and it's a loan, so there are some paperwork and back and forth and checks and balances. But it's over 1,000 small or medium-sized far have taken one of these loans, so you would not be alone in taking advantage of this. Have you participated in a PG&E program in the last 3 to 5 years? If yes, keep in mind what those things are that you did. When we work with you, we would figure out if there's sometimes you can't do the same thing in the last 3 to 5 years, so we'd want to figure that out quickly. If no, that's great. Then you're a blank slate. Do you rent or lease? And then that's just good to know from your option standpoint. And then would you like somebody from PG&E to get in touch with you? So that would be the next step. So keep that in mind. Keep all these questions fresh and in your mind. The last thing I wanted to talk about, and I'll hand it over back to Kelly, is there's a new incentive for programs for customers who are considered hard to reach. And they consider hard to reach based off of many categories. And there's a beauty to being hard to reach because you actually could get double the incentives of a customer who isn't. So these are the criteria. And in order to be considered this and to get the chance for those extra incentives, you would need to have 2 of these items ticked. So language. Is there a primary language spoken other than English at your business? Geography is really great for all the folks on the call today because the Central Valley is considered a harder to reach geography for PG&E programs. So in San Francisco and Sacramento, they have it's highly populated, and they've just got a lot more people that are touching customers in those areas, and their awareness is higher. So that's great. So really, if you're in the Central Valley, you've already got one criteria met. Business size, is your electric demand less than 20 kilowatts? You would find this on your bill. It is, that's not a very high amount of demand. So if you had a business that had like really big machinery and all that, you probably wouldn't hit 20 kW. But if you were a smaller retail shop with just lighting pretty much, you might. Or do you have less than 10 employees? And lastly, do you lease or rent your facility, which I think is very common. So there's high chance that you could hit lease or rent and the geography criteria without even blinking. So keep that in mind, that this is a great opportunity for extra money to pay these programs off. And leverage on bill financing too, and then it's a huge win. Okay, so Kelly and I were talking about, gosh, what would be the next best step for you if you're interested in any of these PG&E offerings, especially the programs. And I've gone out and met with the majority of the SBDC consultants that work for the UC Merced MAP platform counties, whatever you want to call that. So they're aware of these offerings, and they know how to help connect you to me at PG&E, and they can help guide that process. So we were thinking that would be the best option for you to reach out to that consultant that you know, or to your local SBDC office, and they'll connect the dots for you to get to me. I left my email here too, though, mxel at pg.com. If you wanted to email me specific questions too, that's okay. I don't want to leave you hanging, but your consultants will be great assets for you in connecting the dots. Over to you, Kelly.
Great. Thank you, Megan.
You're welcome.
Thanks for all the good information. And yes, we do have consultants that are available to actually help you with the process. So please do take advantage of that. Okay, moving right along. Our next panelist is Keith Brice, and Keith is the president of Midstate Development Corporation. Keith came to Midstate with over 20 years of commercial banking experience, having held vice president positions at Community First Bank, California Republic Bank, and now Sanwa Bank, which is actually now the Bank of the West. An active member of the community for over 30 years, having served on various boards and committees, Keith is more like an institution in this community of Bakersfield rather than just serving on various boards and committees. Midstate Development, since its inception, has funded over $400 million in loans to small businesses. These projects have created or retained over 11,000 jobs in Kern County and the southern San Joaquin Valley. Keith, welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Kelly. I think that institutional comment means I'm kind of old. Is that what you're getting at? Hey, it's great to be with you today. Want to first, start off and tell you a little bit about who Midstate is and what we do. Midstate's a private, not-for-profit organization that was established in 1980. We were subsequently licensed by the SBA to become what's called a certified development company. We're one of 270 some certified development companies throughout the United States, and we have 27 in California. We've been assigned to assist small business owners in their ability to get financing. We issue debentures, bonds sold via a private market to fund the 504 projects. These bonds are fully guaranteed by the SBA. A little bit about the 504 program. It's typically used for commercial loans for expanding businesses, fixed rate below market financing. Example is our last rate that we offered last month was 4.30, so you can see that's a pretty good rate. The financing is typically used for fixed assets, real estate, machinery, and equipment. We have two terms. We have 20 years, which usually is used for real estate, and 10 years for machinery and equipment. Occasionally, we will do some real estate financing for 20 years. Our part today is to really talk about a initiative that the SBA created a few years ago. It's the Green SBA 504 loan, and has a lot of benefits. It allows for both larger SBA loans and multiple SBA loans to the same applicant. I'll give you some examples a little later on. Like a normal SBA 504 loan, the Green 504 loan is a second mortgage that can be as much as $5.5 million, which can really take you into some large project ranges, upwards to $20 million if possible. Our loans, and this is another real key benefit to the SBA Green 504, is all loans are available on a per project basis. In other words, we typically have a maximum eligibility under the SBA 504 program of $5 million per borrower, but that does not apply under the Green loan program. We can do much larger and many projects for some customers. Another advantage, and it's something that it's important to a lot of customers, is that under this particular SBA program, the job creations requirement per dollar amount loaned by the SBA in fact can be waived. The program's intent is to create jobs that we've recognized in some of the larger projects that you're not going to be able to create as many jobs. Examples are some large hotels and storage facilities. The large loans are typically more suitable for customers that are looking at some pretty sizable projects, and they're typically customers whose net worth does not exceed over $15 million, along with net profit over $5 million for the last few years. So this qualifies a lot of companies out in the marketplace. So how do you qualify? What's the easiest way to qualify for a SBA Green 504 loan? The first thing is qualify to construct a building that uses 10% less energy than you're currently using. And it's important to note it's less energy, not necessarily less dollars being spent or saved on the utility bill. Some qualifying examples are assuming you currently own or lease. You can qualify, you can lease a building now and finance another building that will consume 10% less energy than the building you currently own or lease. You can qualify if you lease a building now and you decide to purchase it and make improvements to it that cut your energy consumption by 10%. 10% is going to be the common theme throughout. This could be as simple as lighting retrofit. You heard earlier about the programs available from PG&E from Megan. LED lighting is typically one of the most common uses of energy reduction. usually about 20 to 30%. You can also qualify if you lease or own the building now and you build a new facility that is 10% more energy efficient. Again, the 10% comment. Again, lighting is a great way to accomplish this, but there are numerous other means which you can do it. You can have better insulation, better HVAC, and energy efficient windows. So, qualifying if you do not own or lease a building now. Another way to qualify is to acquire or build a new building that produces enough of its own renewable energy to cut its energy consumption based upon what had been used without the improvements. If you do not own a building currently and have no baseline for energy consumption, then the SBA requires that you produce enough of your own energy to account for 10% the total consumption, since you do not have an existing building to benchmark against. You can produce energy multiple ways using any of the common sources of renewable energy: solar, wind, geothermal, etc. The cost of installation can also be included in the project cost. So you look at some of the project costs that you're going to be able to qualify for the 504, coupled with the coupled with the PG&E rebate program, there can be substantial savings. Renewable energy production for customers. You can also qualify if your business produces renewable energy or renewable fuels for others, the sale to a local utility. This is easier for existing businesses and more difficult for startups, as many lenders that we deal with are still in a recovery mode, and they're looking at some of these new type of businesses a little tighter in their credit quality. However, in some parts of the country, lenders are getting comfortable with this kind of financing, specifically solar farms. So we're finding that there is more of an appetite for that out there. Again, the green 504 loan, it removes your typical maximum $5 million SBA eligibility limit per borrower, in the past, what would happen is you would have a customer that would say was a franchise owner of several businesses, and they've used their $5 million eligibility of SBA, they would be locked out of the program. Now, with that customer looking at using the 504 Green program, they can continue to do additional projects within our program. Again, the important thing is that you can use up to $5.5 million per project. So theoretically, you can do literally up to $10 to $20 million worth of financing using the SBA program. We typically market customers that have multiple locations, again, franchises, mini storages, and hotels. The advantages to the 504 loan program is long-term below market fixed rates. I talked about that earlier. The other huge advantage is the client's equity injection is 10%. This will allow a bank to provide 90% financing. And this, if you're dealing with a smaller bank, it allows the bank to participate in larger transactions. The bank will enjoy a first trustee position of 50% loan to value. There are disadvantages. We have a prepayment penalty within the first 10 years, and the loan can only be paid off at certain times of the year. And we do not do any investor financing. So strip centers, malls of that nature aren't eligible. Usual structure, you have CDC, which is mid-state. We do 40% of the project. The customer injection is 10%, and the private sector lender, pick a bank, it's at 50%. Large project example, it's pretty basic, $10 million project. The bank enjoys a first trust deed at 50%, $5 million. We participate at $4 million, and the customer's injection is $1 million. Use the same example, and if it's not a SBA project, then the customer's injection is typically in the 30% range. So if you look at that, look at most customers needing to maintain working capital, this program is pretty receptive to that. Other eligibility requirements have to be a for-profit business. We don't lend to nonprofits. And I mentioned earlier, the tangible net worth cannot exceed over $15 million of that particular business, along with the net profit after federal taxes of $5 million during the previous 2 years. Again, that qualifies a lot of customers out there. There are ineligible borrowers, mentioned nonprofits, passive businesses, and prior defaults on federal loans. So if you defaulted on your college student loan, then you are in fact ineligible. Banks, mini storages are actually eligible now, which is we've seen several mini storage projects, and now we're seeing some using the 504 Green initiative, and private clubs are ineligible. Eligible use of proceeds, acquisition of land, construction of new buildings. You have an occupancy requirement of 60%. We do land improvements. And also, if you're purchasing an existing building, your occupancy requirement is 51%. The concept behind that, if you're building, 60%, a little bit more. If you're buying, 51%, at least you have the majority. SBA financing cannot be used for tenant improvements for the suites or part of the building that you're not occupying. We do a lot of remodel, a lot of conversions within the program. Also, equipment. We do a lot of equipment at a 10-year useful life, again, with a 10% equity injection. Other requirements, personal guarantees, if you have an owner, 20% or more. For a startup or a special purpose building, the equity requirement is 15%. That's up from 10%. And if it's a startup or special purpose building, it requires 20%. An example, we did several car washes in our region, and the first car wash was a special purpose facility, and it was a startup, so their equity injection was 20%. Then subsequent car washes, it was 15%. They, in fact, exceeded the SBA 504 limit, so $5 million. So on subsequent projects, they fit under the 504 Green loan program. And to date, there are, I think, 12 car washes that have been done. Limited special purpose buildings, there's a list there, anywhere from cold storages to mines and quarries, wineries, and hotels. Devil's in the details. Fees and other requirements. We have a processing fee of 1.5%, a debenture fee of 1.25%, a closing fee of $2,500. There are other costs, but they're limited to, not limited only to title insurance, recording, and escrow fees. Example of a project, California Paper. That's their third 504 loan. We are, in fact, looking at another 504 loan for these folks utilizing the SBA 504 Green program. Deal structure, existing land, if it's been held for 2 years, we'll take the purchase price or the current market value, whichever is less. We have a lot of lease option projects where a customer is leasing a facility with an option to buy, and a percentage of his lease payments are going towards his equity injection. And we will allow owner carryback of equity. Typically, that's in a third trustee position. Deal structure also, multiple borrowers, multiple projects up to your SBA limit. Keep in mind the SBA non-green limit is $5 million, 5.5 for manufacturers. Under the green limit, it is 5.5 per deal. We rarely take additional collateral. We fund only on the building that is being purchased or improved, and we will look at projects on leased land. What's needed from the borrower on the 504 Green program? We require an independent professional documentation required to certify that it is in fact a green project. They must have a certain license, an example, the Association of Energy Engineers. Reports must also have the terminology and lead type of construction. Usually the cost for that particular evaluation starts at about $3,800. Turnaround time is about 3 to 4 weeks. Our involvement, we'll meet with anybody, client, broker, bank, accountant, lawyer, whoever's involved with the deal. We determine the eligibility, gather the financial documentation costs, and we coordinate with the bank. Usually SBA approval takes 10 to 15 days, if not sooner. With that, that was a lot of information. You'll have my contact information, and I'm going to turn it back over to Kelly.
That was a lot of information and a great program, great for both energy efficiency and for also the regular 504 program. So we have a few questions and a couple of minutes left. So if you have a question, it's still not too late to get one in. Let's go to this question. Can I switch my residential PG&E account to a business to save since I work in my garage at home? So let's go to a couple questions now. And how can I switch my residential PG&E to a business account to save since I work in my garage at home? So Megan,
okay.
can you help?
That's a good question. I've heard it before. So it's a little harder than you might think, actually. And what I've heard is to switch from a residential meter to a commercial meter can cost you money to do that switch. So it might be that it's not as positive of an experience as you might think for the money that the money savings that you might want to be trying to achieve. Excuse me. I'm curious too if do you use really heavy duty machinery in your garage for your business that might make you want to do that switch to be able to use, like, let's say the rebate programs, et cetera. But I don't think you're on the line, so I'm not sure we're going to get an answer on that. But I would say definitely you can call the Business Customer Service Center at, oh boy, where's the number? I should have it right in front of me. Oh, I've got it. That phone number is 1-800-468-4743. And they'll be able to give you all the information on that. But that's from what I've heard is it's cost money to change, and you might not want to do that.
Great. And Megan, another question for you. About how long does it take, or about how long is the approval process for PG&E's 0% interest loan?
It all varies, of course. That's not the answer you want, but it is a couple plus months, I would say, for sure. So there's the whole vetting process in the beginning of having your payment history validated, and then digging into what projects you're wanting to do and what rebates are associated with that project, and then it goes into like doing the full project with your first getting approval on that like pre-installation loan agreement, and then doing your project, and then there's an inspection at the very end, and then the payments paid out. So you can see that there's quite a bit in that time frame that has to get done, and you're working between you, your contractor, and PG&E, and the internal people in PG&E to like sort it all out. So definitely a few months at least. I've heard it taking extra long for really crazy projects and things, but I think that if you're dedicated to getting through the system quickly, you can, but it's a couple plus months. And I should say, if you want more information on that program, the website for that is pge.com/OBF, as in on-bill financing, OBF. And on that page, there's, of course, Q&A type stuff, frequently asked questions, and then off to the right side is a bunch of resources, and in there is this item called the handbook, and that's like the nitty gritty about the loan, and it would probably answer any question you ever had about the loan and payments.
Well, great, Megan, and thank you for that information. Well, it's by the chime of the bells, it's 1 o'clock. It's time for us to get out of here. Coming up next month, we have 2 webinars, one with maximizing your cash flow. Who doesn't really want to maximize their cash and their cash flow? And also later in the month on March 30th, our regional brown bag webinar will be back for social media on 30 minutes a day. So maximizing the social marketing aspect of your business on only 30 minutes a day. So thank you for joining us. I'm Kelly Bearden for Keith Brice and Megan Porter. Thank you for joining us, and we're gone. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye, thanks.
Take the survey.